Some royal families aren't battling for crowns, they're suing each other for cash. One princess tried to evict her own brother from a palace. Another prince lost a fortune fighting his own cousins. And some royals are stuck in lawsuits decades after their monarchy ended. These aren't private family matters. They've triggered international trials, court scandals, and headlines that their dynasties wanted buried. So which royals are still fighting for their family's fortune, you might ask? And what secrets are being dragged into court with them? Here are 12 royals who are still locked in legal battles over money, land, and power. At number 12, we have the Crown Prince Pavlos of Greece's inheritance dispute. After the monarchy was abolished in 1974, the Greek state seized royal estates, including Teitori Palace. Constantine II, Pavlov's father, sued, and in 2002, the European Court of Human Rights ruled that Greece must pay $15 million in compensation, finding that the state had violated property rights. Under Greece's law, 22-15-1994, the royal family was stripped of citizenship unless they renounced claims to the throne, chose a surname, and recognized Greece as a republic. They never complied, remaining stateless, although still eligible for citizenship if those conditions were met. So according to Prussia, Pavlos, his siblings, and 5 kids applied for reinstatement under the 1994 law. In December 2024, they pledged allegiance to Greece's republican constitution, renounced royal claims, and chose de Greece, of Greece, as their surname, previously used by their uncle, Prince Michael. Important people and legal experts argued de Greece isn't the typical Greek surname, calling it more of a title and seeking legal scrutiny. And in late December 2024, the Interior Minister published its citizenship approval in the official Gazette, although their citizenship is recognized, but not automatically undisputed. A separate legal battle over the palace and other royal properties continues at the national level. At number 11, we have the Sheikh Hamad bin Abdullah Al Thayan's inheritance dispute. The inheritance dispute is associated with the idol's eye, which is a 70-carat 17th century blue diamond steeped in history, from Ottoman sultans to modern collectors. According to Reuters, it was acquired in the early 2000s by Sheikh Saud bin Mohammed Al Thayan, Qatar's former culture minister, and placed in Elenis Holdings, a foundation benefiting his widow and kids. In May 2014, Sheikh Saud loaned the diamond to Quipco, an investment firm led by Sheikh Hamad bin Abdullah. The contract included a preemption clause. If they wished to sell it, Quipco could buy it for $10 million, or an average auction house estimate, whichever was higher. In early 2020, Sheikh Saud's son indicated they were willing to sell the diamond, initiating discussions through a Swiss lawyer. But shortly after, you should know, the rest of the family reversed course, stating that they had no intent to sell, citing uncertainty and internal disagreement. Quipco sued in November 2022, asking the High Court to enforce their purchase right. And Judge Simon Burt ruled Quipco's claim groundless, stating that they never had a definitive wish to sell. The 2020 letter was a preliminary expression of interest, not a bidding sale commitment, and family members never collectively authorized the sale. Sheikh Hamad lost the case. Elenis retains ownership and control over the diamond, keeping the dispute intact. Next, we have Emmanuel Filiberto de Savoy's inheritance dispute. Emmanuel and the House of Savoy have sued the Italian state and the Bank of Italy since 2021, seeking the return of historic crown jewels and regalia deposited in 1946 after the monarchy was abolished. According to Vanity Fair, these items, 26 pieces, over 6,000 diamonds and 2,000 pearls, are valued at around $350 million in today's money. The first hearing took place in Rome, June 2022. The dispute continues. The Savoys claim that the pieces are private property, while Italy asserts that they are royal endowment and are legally state-owned. Emmanuel, in this instance, and his father, Vittorio, formally demanded $300 million in royal damages and restitution of confiscated real estate from their 1946 exile. The Italian government, on the other hand, dismisses the claim, noting constitutional clauses that voided royal property transfers post-Republic establishment, and hinted at potential reciprocal claims due to associations with Mussolini. In 2019, Vittorio Emanuele, dad, decreed that his granddaughter, Princess Vittoria, could succeed by absolute primogeniture, breaking centuries of male-only succession. This sparked a feud with Aosta branch. Notably, they argued that the decree violates historic Slavic law, asserting that the reform is, in their words, quote, illegitimate. Dynamics within the family have then tense as Vittorio excluded himself and Filiberto from succession, citing non-dynastic marriage. The Aosta branch claims rightful headship. The next three royals: one prince lost his title, another fought for a royal estate, and one got cut off for marrying the wrong woman. At number 9, we have Prince Nikolai of Romania's inheritance dispute. On the 1st of August 2015, King Michael I formally stripped Nicholas Medford Mills of his prince title and his place in the line of succession. According to the Romanian Journal, the official reason cited as King Michael believed Romania would never need a future royal with modesty, moral principles, respect, and thought for others, and that an emotional disparity existed between Nicholas's behavior and royal expectations. Royal advisors noted it was preventative, forward-looking decisions, you could say, intended to preserve dignity, and Nicholas reportedly accepted the move at the time. In August 2015, Nicholas issued a statement saying that, quote, he regretfully respects the decision, noting that the demands of the royal life didn't match his path. However, by December 21st, 2017, reports emerged that he intended to challenge the exclusion. His lawyers claimed Nicholas never signed the decree and it was never properly communicated. A key tension stemmed from Nicholas's fathering a daughter out of wedlock in 2016. This was seen as violating the royal house's standards and reportedly triggered King Michael's reaction. The final royal constitution allowed only male heirs, but King Michael also set that tradition aside in 2007, declaring his eldest daughter, Princess Margareta, as the heir to his throne. Symbolic but non-dynastic move escalating the inheritance dispute. Next, we have Princess Beatrice of York's inheritance dispute. 2003, Prince Andrew secured a 75-year lease on Royal Lodge in Windsor Great Park. In lieu of his rent, his lease obligates him to cover all maintenance and refurbishment costs. According to lease terms, upon Andrew's death, the lease can be passed to his widow or either of his daughters. Andrew is responsible for covering renovations that were initially estimated at $9 million in 2002, likely much higher now given inflation and the lodge's disrepair. According to InStyle, currently Beatrice's husband, Eduardo Mapley Monzi, who is the property developer, is helping fund essential refurbishment support. This involvement strengthens Beatrice's claim because it proves her household has the means and the know-how to maintain the property, a key lease condition. King Charles reportedly wants Andrew to downsize the Frogmore Cottage and vacate Royal Lodge for a more active working royals sort of look, creating tension over the property's long-term future. Yet Andrew has successfully demonstrated he can fund maintenance and ongoing costs, keeping him in the residence and seemingly preserving inheritance rights for his daughters. Beatrice herself stands to directly inherit Royal Lodge's lease, providing Andrew continues meeting the upkeep conditions. However, public and institutional pressures, including King Charles's preference and the high maintenance burden, cast uncertainty on whether their inheritance will fully materialize. However, the Crown Estate can revoke the lease if necessary. At number 7, we have William Seymour, Earl of Yarmouth's inheritance dispute. According to the Times, William Seymour is expected to inherit Ragley Hall and manage the estate upon turning 30, per the purported agreement with his parents. His marriage in 2018 to Kelsey Wells, who is an ex-Goldman Sachs banker, reportedly triggered disapproval from the Marquess and Marquess of Hertford, including alleged warnings of the call-off of the wedding. After marrying, William and Kelsey raised concerns that trustees mismanaged finances, denied funding for their children's school fees, excluding Kelsey from trustee meetings, and even evicted them from estate cottages with minimal notice. So in early 2025, William filed a case in the High Court aiming to remove the last two trust corporations and appoint an independent trustee and declare the purported inheritance promise enforceable. High Court, presided by Master Brightwell, ruled on 19th May 2025 that no evidence of mismanagement by his trustees, investing strategy, and income distributions were within trust terms. William's father cited his son's, quote, lack of achievement, such as no university degree, no career, as justification for reversing inheritance plans. Therefore, William's bid to remove the trustees was dismissed. The court did not intervene in trust management. He remains excluded from control of Ragley Hall. The promised inheritance was not upheld. The couple now operates their own elderflower spirit business on estate grounds. The upcoming royals are now it's family versus family. A sister sues her brother. The prince challenged the system, and one royal dad denied his own son. Next, we have Lady Catherine Anne Brunel-Bruce's inheritance dispute. According to Wiltshire Times, Lady Rosamond, or the Countess of Cardigan, passed away in 2012, leaving Leah Hill House and the Savern Snake estate to be quietly inherited by her two children, Catherine and Thomas. Thomas was appointed sole executor, controlling the sale or management decisions of Lee Hill House, which he continued to live in. But by 2015, Catherine found herself in dire financial straits and sought either her share in cash or the sale of the property. Thomas offered to pay her $20,000 a year in rent, provide periodic loans, and contribute $11,000 towards Catherine's wedding. However, no sale or buyout materialized, leaving Catherine locked into ownership, her only financial security, but without access. In 2022, Catherine sued to remove Thomas as executor and force a sale or settlement. High Court decision was that Thomas was removed due to, quote, ignoring his responsibilities, although no wrongdoing was found, but his conflict as executor or beneficiary and failures to act warranted replacement. Leah Hill House was placed under independent executor control, setting the stage for sale and asset distribution. Catherine filed a second action in November 2024, contending Thomas had promised, based on their mother's wishes, to transfer his share of Leah Hill House to her upon his inheritance of the title. She now seeks either full ownership or a cash equivalent above $2.5 million. At number 5, we have Prince Laurent of Belgium's inheritance dispute. This fight is about entitlement to Social Security, such as health and pension, on top of his royal allowance. His wife, Princess Claire, with no state pension, would be left unsupported on his death, motivating his legal push. According to the Time, Prince Laurent receives $400,000 annually, plus rent-free housing, and performs recurring public duties. Yet, under Belgian law, receipts of such endowments don't qualify as employees or self-employed, hence no Social Security. He applied in late 2024 to be registered with Social Security as a self-employed person. On the 7th of April 2025, a Brussels labor court ruled his claim, quote, unfounded, stating his duties are strictly public and not self-employment. It did note legislative gaps in pensions, though. His lawyer, considering an appeal or pushing for legal reform entirely. Laurent heads an NGO reforestation project in Libya in 2010. A court awarded him $40 million in damages, but Libya hasn't paid. In July 2023, the Libyan Investment Authority issued a notice to Laurent enforcing a rightful claim. His Social Security bid was rejected April 2025 if the Libya matter remains unresolved. Barring his inheritance dispute, he's locked in a separate legal saga over unpaid Libyan project compensations. Next, we have Prince Carlos de Bourbon de Parma's inheritance dispute. Prince Carlos, Duke of Parma and Dutch royal, fathered a son, Carlos Hugo Roderick Sybren, with Brigitte Klinstra in 1997. The prince acknowledged paternity but didn't grant him royal rights at birth. In December 2015, after turning 18, Hugo formally sought recognition, surname changed to de Bourbon de Parma, and use of the title Prince in style of His Royal Highness, asserting rights under Dutch nobility law. Prince Carlos opposed, citing a prior agreement with Hugo's mother that Hugo wouldn't claim titles or family affiliation. In 2016, the Dutch Ministry of Justice and a Hague court ruled in favor, granting the name and title change request under nobility law. Fast forward to 2016, and according to France 24 in 2018, the Dutch Council of State finalized the ruling Hugo can legally use the name de Bourbon de Parma and predicate prince, regardless of his birth circumstance. The court clarified Hugo is not automatically a member of the House of Bourbon-Parma or entitled to succession to defunct the Parman throne. Those decisions remain with the family's private domain. Hugo officially adopted the name Carlos Hugo Roderick Sybren de Bourbon de Parma, styled His Royal Highness, pending on a royal decree to finalize it. He's recognized as Dutch nobility now, but not a dynastic heir. His status within the royal house is symbolic, they say, not legal. These next three, one sued for a throne he was never allowed to claim, another fought his uncles under dynastic power, and the last sued his own sibling for $100 million. And at number 3, we have Prince Paul of Romania's inheritance dispute. Prince Paul Philippe, known as Paul of Romania, is the son of Carl Lambino, King Carl II's eldest son, via his 1918 morganatic marriage to Zizi Lambrino. That marriage was annulled in 1919, and neither father nor uncle recognized Paul for decades. Between 1955 and 1963, courts in Portugal, France, the UK, and later Romania itself recognized Carl Lambino as a legitimate son of Carl II, making Paul a de jure grandson and legal heir under Romanian inheritance law. According to Balkan Site, in 2012, Romania's High Court upheld lineage, granting Paul's right to inheritance part of the royal fortune. though not granting dynastic status or succession rights, which remain with King Michael's discretion. Paul pursued reclaiming royal properties confiscated by Marxists. That includes Beniasa Royal Farm, Snagov Forest, and portions of the Palace Castle and other lands and buildings. He won court orders. For example, in 2013, a request to recover approximately 57,000 meters squared of Benezi farm plus compensation, in collaboration with businessman Remus Trukai and Israeli billionaire Benny Steinmetz through Replica. Paul pushed to recover and monetize these assets. However, in December 2020, Romania's High Court took actions in recovering the farm and snag-off assets, damage estimated at $150 million, meaning the inheritance dispute for Paul was not resolved. All these have made the issue more complicated. Next, we have George Frederick, Prince of Prussia's inheritance dispute. Upon Prince Louis Ferdinand's death in 1994, George Frederick succeeded as head of the Hohenzollern family. His two uncles, Frederick William and Michael, contested their exclusion under the 1938 House laws that demanded marriages. Initial favorable rulings for the uncles, 1997, citing immorality of discrimination. The federal court overturned these, remanding to lower courts, which then sided with George Frederick. Ultimately, in March 2004, the Federal Constitutional Court deemed the discriminatory marital clause unconstitutional. Finally, on October 2005, a regional court declared George Frederick principal heir while upholding inheritance shares for his uncle, meaning the inheritance dispute was to remain. Since 2014, George Frederick pursued lawsuits for his free lifelong residence rights at former Hohenzollern palaces, the return of thousands of art items, library, including 266 paintings, imperial crown and scepter letters of the Empress Augusta Victoria. In 2019, court rejected the claim to Rheinfeld's castle. 2019 into 2020, public backlash emerged, overshadowed by disputes over bad era collaboration. He also demanded $1.5 million in compensation for property seized post-1945. This was denied by Brandenburg, citing bad collaboration of Crown Prince William. According to Zit, in March 2023, George Frederick dropped public compensation and restitution demands for 4,000 artworks, saying he wanted an encumbered historical debate. He filed over 40 legal challenges against media and historians, leading to accusations of intimidation aimed at suppressing discussion about Hohenzollern bad links. And at number 1, we have Karl Edward, Prince of Bismarck's inheritance dispute. Eldest son of Ferdinand Prince von Bismarck, Karl Edward, or Kalle, was disinherited in 2002 due to his, quote, flamboyant lifestyle, excessive partying, personal issues, etc. According to Bundt, Ferdinand transferred 51% of the family estate, including Friedrichsruh Castle, around 3,000 hectares of forest, to the younger son, Gregor, plus set a will leaving 2/3 to Gregor and 1/6 to each of his wife Elizabeth and daughter Vanessa. Despite celebrating his father's century by granting Gregor power of attorney, Ferdinand tried overcoming earlier gifts but ultimately confirmed the inheritance structure. After Ferdinand's death in 2019, Karl Edward sued Gregor and Vanessa in Lubbock Court, claiming his mandatory inheritance share, roughly $100 million per the report. However, Kalle already received significant gifts and loans that's up to $4 million from his father, which should reduce his claim. The court had deferred pending more documentation. The judge suggests settling out of court, but strong sibling animosity makes that unlikely. Kalle accused Gregor and Elizabeth of abusing Ferdinand's illness to push through inheritance changes and secure estate control. Gregor, a former Hollywood producer, now manages the estate and forestry business. He accused Kalle of causing unnecessary family turmoil. Kalle owes significant amounts, monthly $50,000 in alimony and loan repayments, leading ex-wife Natalie to attempt enforcement. Gregor claims Kalle's flitch-tail might be entirely offset by these debts and prior gifts. With this, we end today's video. We'll be back with a new video shortly. Until then, happy watching, and do subscribe to our channel if you still haven't.